Mangwana ni Mwalelepo Vukenjani, Click+.MY.NA Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show, bringing you everything you need to know, particularly the potent stories stemming from the African continent. Today we'll be joined by Rorisang Mohojwe. She says Dumelang from Gaborone, delivering the Botswana report. But prior to that, these are some of the top stories Africa Good Morning will be looking at. US rejects claims of minerals for health deal in Zambia. Zimbabwe opposition leader granted bail amid rising constitutional tensions. Kenyan ex-foreign minister arrested after alleged staged disappearance. Starlink faces setback as Namibia rejects satellite internet license. DSTV 285, GOTV 25, 1up2.com and NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA, that's Africa with a K, as well as NTV Africa on YouTube is where you can watch Africa Good Morning. My name is Ashwin Berry. Top stories shortly. Right, into our top stories. The United States has rejected claims that it is seeking to secure Zambia's mineral resources in exchange for health sector support, with Nick Checker of the Bureau of African Affairs stating the reports are false and misrepresent Washington's position. He clarified the United States is not seeking anything at Zambia's expense or against its laws or interests. The statement follows reports linking a proposed $1 billion health arrangement to access critical minerals as Zambia attracts attention over copper and global supply chains. Government has maintained cooperation must align with national priorities, including recovery, industrialization, and value addition. Demand for minerals has placed Zambia at the center of strategic positioning. Authorities have cautioned against narratives suggesting conditional agreements, particularly with regards to health, tied to resources. The U.S. reiterated engagement is based on mutual cooperation rather than transactional exchange. The issue unfolds amid misinformation concerns in Zambia. In Zimbabwe, opposition leader and lawyer Tendai Biti was granted bail after spending the weekend in detention as political tensions rise in the country. He was arrested near the Mozambique border alongside an activist and accused of holding a public meeting without notifying authorities. A court in Mutare released both on $500 bail and ordered them to report to police every 2 weeks. The arrest comes amid broader unrest linked to proposed constitutional changes that could extend President Emerson Mnangagwa's rule beyond 2028 and shift presidential elections from a public vote to parliament. Mnangagwa, who came to power in 2017 after Robert Mugabe stepped down, is already serving his second term. Critics argue the proposals threaten democracy and accuse authorities of intimidation, abductions, and repression. The ruling ZANU-PF party denies wrongdoing. Frustration does continue to grow as many Zimbabweans say economic challenges and corruption remain unresolved. Here is Tendai Biti on SABC speaking about the proposed constitutional amendment.
The Constitution is very clear in section 328. It defines a term limit as an extension of time beyond the defined limit. The defined limit is 5 years, and the upper limit is 10 years, 2 terms. So any attempt to extend Mr. Mnangagwa's term of office beyond 2028 is a breach of the Constitution and can only be remedied by 2 constitutional amendments and 2 separate constitutional referendums, which, given the unpopularity of ZANU-PF, are impossible to achieve and attain, which is why they are now coming with this disingenuous argument that disingenuously argues that the length of a term is different from a term limit. Even a grade 1 child can see through.
Now, there's been an interesting development in East Africa. Former Kenyan Foreign Minister Raphael Tuju was arrested a day after he was reported missing, prompting fears of abduction. Director of Criminal Investigations Mohammed Amin said Tuju had remained inside his residence, describing the incident as a carefully staged disappearance rather than a genuine abduction. Shortly before his arrest, Tuju told Citizen TV he had gone into hiding after being followed by an unmarked vehicle. Here is Tuju in his own words.
Because it's easy to know when you're being followed. You drive, you slow down, they slow down, you overtake, they try to overtake. And after that incident, of course, I reported to Karen Police Station, and the reference OB that's on Friday is 21/21/03/2026. And I did explain to them that I was a little bit concerned and worried that I'm being followed. Unfortunately, on Saturday evening, I was supposed to be going for an interview at Ramogi Radio. I had made a commitment to go there. Then again, the same vehicle, a Land Cruiser, and this time a little bit more concerning, the vehicle didn't have plate numbers.
In the last of our top stories, Namibia has rejected a request for Elon Musk's Starlink to operate satellite internet services, marking a second setback for the company in Southern Africa. The Communications Regulatory Authority of Namibia confirmed the application was submitted through Starlink Internet Services Namibia Private Limited and announced the refusal in a government gazette. The regulator did not provide details initially, stating only that full explanations would be requested from the authority. Now, Starlink delivers high-speed internet to remote areas using low Earth orbit satellites. The authority noted the company's local subsidiary lacks local ownership, and I believe that was the central reason it was rejected. Starlink says it established a Namibian entity and intends to partner with local firms to create jobs and economic opportunities. The company has also struggled to secure a license in South Africa, where ownership rules require telecommunications operators to provide 30% equity to historically disadvantaged groups. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, Rorisang Mohojwe joins us from Botswana.
Tune in to Regional Review, your weekly roundup of news from all regions across the country, from breaking stories to inspiring community highlights, and discover must-visit spots in each region, every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. on NTV.
All right. It's time for us to talk to Rorisang Mohojwe as she delivers the Botswana report. Dumela.
Dumelang, good morning. Thank you so much for having me on Africa. Good morning.
So, Rodisang, tense times in Botswana, particularly economically. Some say it's because of the overdependence on diamonds. I think the conversation could be much broader than that. However, what is clear is that the government is in trouble financially because they are seeking to borrow 3 billion pula from local banks.
Well, the government of Botswana is currently grappling with a financial crisis. It is grappling with declining revenues, a widening budget deficit, as well as a growing pressure on public finances, which essentially means that the government is broke. National coffers are growing empty. And so the Ministry of Finance is seeking alternative avenues in order to support public finances. And they are now seeking parliamentary approval to get a loan from 3 commercial banks, that is Absa Bank of Botswana, First National Bank of Botswana, as well as Stanbic Bank Botswana, in order to support the national budget. Now, the Minister of Finance is expected to table a bill for the facility, which is valued at $216.6 million. Now, I must say, Ashwin, this marks a rare shift to commercial bank borrowing, which is not usually the case, as you know, the government, if it's going to borrow money or get financing elsewhere, it's going to be from, regional or global institutions such as the World Bank, for example. But now it is resorting to borrowing from 3 local lenders because, like I said, the government is facing, tightening cash flows as well as increasing expenditure demands. And so this has prompted a search for alternative financing options beyond the traditional revenue sources. Now, according to the Government Gazette, which was just published or issued recently, this loan will be sourced from 3 local lenders, and it does require parliamentary approval in line with borrowing laws.
Now, the World Athletics Relays in Gaborone are on their way, and Botswana has made a sizable commitment, Rodisang.
Botswana Diamond Company is the official title sponsor of the World Athletics Relays Gaborone 2026 event, which is expected to take place from the 2nd until the 3rd of May right here in Gaborone. Now, officials, when they were speaking at the official announcement, said that this partnership really underscores commitment by both parties to elevate Botswana's global profile as the host of one of the most significant sporting events that the country has ever hosted. Now, this event is expected to generate more than 100 million views or online impressions, with broadcast coverage expected in 130 countries and territories, and over 100 credited international journalists and photographers are expected to attend. Over and above that, about 1,500 or more than 1,500 global athletes as well as officials are expected to be in attendance. And, fans can expect top-notch competitions in the men's as well as women and mixed relay competitions. That is the 4x100 meters and 4x400 meter relays, which will feature some of the world's leading sprinters. Botswana says that the sponsorship is an investment in promoting Botswana on the global stage, while the government, through the Minister of Sport and Arts, Jacob Gilebe, noted that this partnership definitely reflects the growing confidence in the country's ability to host a world-class event of this nature. Now, the World Athletics Relay Gaborone 2026 will actually mark the very first time that Botswana will be hosting an event of this scale, and it really places the spotlight on both its sporting and tourism sectors, as there is expected economic revenue that will be generated through this world-class global event. It's not just sports, but it's also many other things, including tourism, as well as entrepreneurship, as well as GDP. So many are looking forward to this, and like I said, it will be the first time that Botswana hosts an event of this magnitude or of this scale.
All right, having a bit of a lively debate this side, particularly with regards to Botswana's commitment. And why? Because we just spoke about Botswana going through a diamond slump and needing to borrow billions of dollars from local banks. And now their diamond company's got 60 million to spend. So we'll be paying attention to how things unfold in Botswana. However, in the creative industry, Botswana is plowing back into the community and stopping the Steve Harvey program.
Steve Harvey, the American comedian, actor, media personality, who, by the way, has a local name. He was nicknamed Muthusi, which means helper, will no longer be benefiting directly from the government of Botswana after the current government announced that they will not be renewing his multi-million Bula deal, which was initially introduced under former President Mokgweetsi Masisi. It was reportedly worth over 500 million Bula over 3 years, and it has since supported initiatives including the local version of the TV show Family Feud. Now, the Minister of Sports and Arts, Jacob Gilliman, told Parliament that this decision is aimed at reinvesting and growing homegrown talent, as well as ensuring that the creative industry investment actually delivers long-term value for citizens. Now, when this decision was made by the former President Mokgweetsi Masisi, at the time he believed that Steve Harvey Muthusi would actually help the local creative industry, but it garnered a lot of criticism. Many industry players believed that the government did not have enough confidence in the local creative sector enough to invest in it directly, but they went and gave an American funding directly in order to come and, help or invest in Botswana's creative industry. And so now the current government has since opted to redirect that funding towards Botswana's homegrown talent, which is a decision that has been welcomed by creative industry stakeholders, including the Botswana Film Association, who say that this is a necessary shift towards strengthening the sector. And the government says that this funding is expected to boost local productions, as well as create economic opportunities for emerging filmmakers, as well as support the sustainable, self-driven creative industry. And so the Minister of Sport and Arts, Jacob Gilliman, did tell Parliament that this decision is actually aimed at empowering homegrown talent and will ensure that this investment actually delivers a sustainable creative industry sector for Botswana.
All right. Many thanks to Rorisang Mohojwe for delivering the Botswana report from Gaborone. We're going to take a quick break before we return with railway news between Kenya and Uganda in economic updates. In a world where politicians promise the moon and deliver potholes, where democracy sometimes arrives in camouflage and ballots often look like formalities, one show dares to laugh with Africa, at Africa, and sometimes for Africa. This is Second Take, your weekly dose of political satire with an African soul and a global edge. From coups disguised as press briefings to ministers moonwalking past accountability, we serve the real news with sharper writing. Each week we bring you the TikTok of the week, because sometimes the revolution is vertical, and the heartwarming moment of the week to remind us that not everything is burning. We also sit down with the bold, the brilliant, and the brave, voices that question power, stir thought, and spark laughter. Because when the headlines are wild, the leaders are louder, and the truth is lost in translation, we all need a second take. Kenya and Uganda have launched a new phase of the standard gauge railway in Kisumu, marking a significant step toward regional integration in East Africa. The project aims to link the region to the Democratic Republic of Congo, with Kenyan President William Ruto announcing the start of construction on the 107-kilometer Kisumu-Malaba section. This phase is expected to complete nearly 1,000 kilometers of continuous rail from Mombasa to Malaba, forming a crucial connection to the Malaba-Kampala line. The Chinese-funded extension is scheduled to reach the Uganda border by June next year. Officials say the railway will ease pressure on roads, reduce accidents, lower transport costs, and strengthen transnational trade. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni stated that the goal is to shift heavy cargo from road to rail and move petroleum products through pipelines. Here's a video on the unveiling from the Kenyan government's page.
This is the actual journey to Singapore.
Uganda is one of the biggest trading partners with Kenya. Reducing cost of transportation and facilitating the kind of trade will be so significant.
With the railway and the port, these are two communication centers that are going to make a big difference. I usually go to Luanda Kotia, to a market or between Maseno and Yala. At 4 in the morning, you can imagine the amount of goods arriving from Uganda to be sold there. And now they will come straight to Kisumu.
We are compensating over 1,000 people affected by this project. And towards Kisumu, we are compensating over 3,500. Look at that economic empowerment. We are bringing development to the people, and we are also empowering them economically.
When he says that we are going to transform Kenya and witnesses in our lifetime, events like today attest to that.
And the wananchi of Kisumu hoye! The wananchi of Kisumu power! The power!
It may have delayed a bit in Narok, but today we are making sure that this transport corridor, this logistics corridor, is going to transform not just the East African community, but it is going to position Kenya and the East African region as a region for economic transformation.
Our plan is to transfer all heavy cargo to the railway.
Thank you, Mzee, for your leadership, your vision, and your steadfast commitment to the unity and integration of our region.
All right, and as we close off, it's time to say goodbye to a true legend, not just of Liverpool, but of the Premier League. Mohamed Salah announced yesterday that he will be leaving Liverpool after winning a Champions League, 2 Premier Leagues, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, 4-time Golden Boot winner. The iconic Salah is going to be leaving the Reds and moving on to the next stage of his life. Some people assume that he's going to be headed to Saudi Arabia. But what is important right now is that we respect the African pharaoh who brought this game to a whole new level for this continent, particularly with his exploits in the UK. This has been Africa Good Morning. DSTV 285, GOTV 25, 1up2.com, NTVAFRIKA.MY.NA is where you can watch us. As we say goodbye, here are the economic indicators.